You just finished a 10-hour shift. You're exhausted. You pour something cold, sink into your couch, and do absolutely nothing productive for 2 hours. And it feels amazing. Now imagine doing that 50,000 years ago. No couch, no drink, no screen. You've spent the entire day tracking an animal through dense forest, carrying a spear you made yourself, wearing clothes you stitched by hand. You made it back to camp before dark. The fire is going, the food is cooking, and now you have maybe 2 hours before sleep. What do you do with them? Most people assume ancient humans had no concept of fun, that every waking moment was pure survival. Hunt, eat, sleep, repeat. But that assumption falls apart the second you look at the actual evidence. Because what archaeologists keep finding, buried under thousands of years of dirt and rock, is proof that ancient humans played. They competed, they danced, they laughed, and they did it with more creativity than most people give them credit for. Let's start with something nobody expects. They played games. At a site in Turkey called Başar Hoyuk, archaeologists uncovered a collection of small carved stones dating back roughly 5,000 years. Different shapes, different colors. Some looked like animals, some looked like pyramids, some looked like dice. They weren't tools, they weren't weapons, they were game pieces. A complete set, buried together, clearly belonging to something with rules. And it didn't stop there. Ancient game boards have been found carved directly into stone floors across Egypt, Sudan, and Cyprus. Some of those grooves are worn smooth, not from one game, but from hundreds. People sat in the same spot, played the same game, so many times that they polished the rock underneath them. Think about that. 4,000 years ago, someone had a favorite spot where they played their favorite game. That's not survival. That's leisure. That's a person. But games weren't the only thing. Music goes back further than almost anything else we found. At Hohlefels Cave in Germany, archaeologists discovered a flute carved from vulture bone. It's roughly 40,000 years old, and it still has 5 finger holes cut into it with precise spacing. Someone didn't just accidentally make noise. They engineered an instrument. They understood pitch. They understood melody. And this wasn't a one-off discovery. Bone flutes have been found across Europe and Asia, dating back tens of thousands of years, which means music wasn't invented once and copied. It was invented independently, multiple times, by people who had never met each other, because the desire to make organized sound seems to be built into us at a level that goes deeper than culture. Here's what makes that even more interesting. You can't eat a song. You can't use a melody to kill an animal or build a shelter. Music serves no immediate survival purpose whatsoever. And yet humans kept making it, across every continent, across every time period, with whatever materials they had available. That's not accident, that's need. Then there's dancing. We can't dig up a dance, but we can find its fingerprints. Ancient rock art from sites in India, South Africa, and Australia shows groups of human figures in motion. Arms raised, legs bent, bodies arranged in circles, the same postures, the same formations, found on different continents, painted by people who never knew the others existed. Anthropologists who study modern hunter-gatherer groups consistently find that communal dancing appears in every single one of them. It's not cultural, it's human. And the reason makes more sense than you'd think. Synchronized movement with other people releases a flood of endorphins. It bonds groups together faster than almost anything else. It reduces tension. It builds trust. For a group of 20 to 30 people who depend on each other for survival, dancing together wasn't just fun, it was social glue. And then there was storytelling. This one might be the oldest form of entertainment on Earth. At night, around the fire, the entire tone of a group shifted. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies show that daytime conversation is mostly practical. Food, resources, problems to solve. But nighttime conversation, firelight conversation, is something else entirely. Over 80% of it shifts to stories. Who did what? What happened to someone once? What the world was like before? How things came to be? Those stories weren't just entertainment. They were technology. A story about a river that floods every 3 years carries survival information. A story about which plants made someone sick is a warning passed forward in time. But they were also genuinely gripping. Ancient stories had heroes and monsters, and impossible journeys. They had humor and tragedy and mystery. Because a boring story doesn't get retold, and a story that doesn't get retold dies. Only the compelling ones survived. The oldest verified oral traditions, Aboriginal Australian stories describing coastline changes from sea level rises have survived for over 7,000 years. 7,000 years of people sitting around fires telling the same story because it was worth telling again. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Fun wasn't separate from survival for ancient humans. It was woven directly into it. The game taught strategy. The music tightened social bonds and marked group identity. The dance synchronized the group and released tension before a hunt. The story carried knowledge across generations in a format the human brain could actually hold on to. Play wasn't what ancient humans did when they weren't surviving. Play was how they survived. The groups who sang together, competed together, told stories together, those groups trusted each other more. And groups that trusted each other more hunted better, shared more, and lasted longer. You still do all of it. You still play games. You still make music. You still dance at weddings and tell stories at dinner and gather around screens the same way your ancestors gathered around fires. The technology changed. The need never did. Fun isn't a modern luxury. It's one of the oldest things about you, and the fact that you still feel it, that pull toward play, toward music, toward a good story, that's not distraction. That's inheritance.